All right, I wanted to show you how to use Google Docs around kind of a formative assessment feedback loop, but also a couple of tricks. The docs we have are actually, we use a lot of tables for formatting, and I wanted to show you a few tricks around that because docs are a super flexible tool. And we think they're sometimes too simple, but sometimes we're trying to find 7 other tools and just keep it simple. So if you go docs.new, it automatically creates new Google Doc. There's your tip of the day for shortcuts. So I always name my docs first thing, otherwise I get a whole pile of untitled docs. So feedback sample, I wanted to show you the tables. So in the docs that we make every week, we kind of balance some pictures and some words, and we also add tables to help format things and keep them going in the direction we want them to go. So tables, I'll often do a 1-column table and do something like this, and it fills up the whole page. But what it does is just gives some structure so things end up flowing better in your doc. You can use this little fill to do some background color. So I like to do lists of things where the top one kind of is a slightly darker color so it stands out more. Organizing your table. And then it can keep topics together. So if you're trying to do a couple things or everything where the student's supposed to fill in, you fill it so it's blue. So they know everywhere there's blue, they have to do some work. So tables are really great for organizing your work. You can add text and you can also add images. And it helps keep the images and the text kind of aligned together sometimes. So I'm going to search the web for a nice picture of a cat. I know it's shocking that I would put a cat in. Oh, that's a good one. Oh. So you can add text. You can add text about a cat and text about cats and how cute they are. Now notice the text will jump around the picture. When you click on the picture, you also have some options down here. So you can move it with the text, fix the position. So play with these a little bit, and it helps organize things, and you can move them around. It's still kind of a pain. You can also make things smaller by dragging. And so you can do a lot with the formatting around, but it's also nice if you keep it in one cell of a table. So that goes a long way in terms of organizing your docs and adding some nice visual elements. I can also highlight text and add a link. So I'm going to link to CBC News since everything's so positive on CBC News today. And instead of seeing a big long hyperlink sometimes, then you get the text that becomes the link. So that also helps keep your docs a bit cleaner. Now the feedback side of this is when you're working with a student and they'll often turn things in really fast, especially on Classroom. Ooh, I'm done. And you can use this comment feature, this add comment goes such a long way for students to get that feedback loop and say, no, fix this, no, fix this, no, fix this. So you can add a comment a couple of ways. You can add a comment by highlighting text and it shows up there on the side. Or wherever your cursor is, there has to be something there. Notice it's gray right now. So if I write some text, all of a sudden it comes up. And I can say, this thought is very basic. Can you add an example to make your point? So you can leave feedback as the teacher, and then they have to do it, which is really kind of cool. Now, the other thing you can do when you're leaving feedback is you can plus them. And I know that sounds like a strange verb. So I plus, who should I give feedback to? This is just a sample account that I have. I can actually add the student here, and I can say, please go back and do this again with a concrete example and in a sentence. Point form. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. And if you actually assign it to them, what it does is it sends them an email about each task they have to do. And you hit assign, and then they can go through, and I would have to share it with that person. So if you haven't shared it with them, I'm going to share it with that person. Then they have to go through and they have to go in and do it. So sometimes the comments are good, but if you actually add their little name to it, then they're like, okay, I can do it. And then they check it off when they're done. And it becomes kind of a to-do list for them. So that's a really nice way to add some feedback. This is also a lot of typing. So the other thing you can do is use Screencastify. Open their doc and use this tool that I'm using to get them to talk it through as a teacher and say, and actually highlight pieces. So it could say, you didn't, this thesis statement wasn't strong enough. You know what I would do is I'd go back and I'd really focus on strengthening it because you made your points down here, but you need to go back and change the thesis statement to match those points. So instead of always typing all your feedback, sometimes use your voice. And then you can highlight different pieces of your doc and say, hey, what about this? What about this? So it depends on the internet for your students. If you have a student with low bandwidth, don't send them all the sorts of videos with the Screencastify talking through. Maybe text is a much better way to go because Google Docs are actually really low bandwidth usage. So take into account some of those things, but think about using docs with something like Screencastify, organizing your docs a little better, and using these comments as a feedback loop because it's a really useful tool for you and your students.